Well, covering developments for us from London today is our correspondent there, Bénédicte Paviot, and she's on the line for us right now. Bénédicte, we'll come to the Prime Minister's fate in a moment. But first of all, let's talk about the actions of the police, because they're actually under fire here as well, because many people say it's taken them too long to start this official investigation.
Well, the fact that the Met Police has now confirmed that it is opening an investigation on certain parties, or as Downing Street has previously called them, work events in Downing Street during this pandemic, and at times when restrictions were very tough, is very significant. You're quite right. The Met Police has indeed been criticised, because the perception now really over the last few weeks, and indeed before Christmas, so we've entered 2021 in the way that we've begun 2022 as far as the Prime Minister and these allegations are concerned, is that there is one rule for them, in other words, people in government, people in Downing Street, and the rest of the population. So at a time when people were having to not be able to say goodbye to their loved ones except via a phone or a screen of some kind, and they were making sacrifices up and down the country, the number of allegations, the seriousness of the allegations, and that these rules were being breached has become an absolutely major issue, fired up anger across the population and within not just the opposition MPs, but within the Conservative Party itself. Because you can't, on the one hand, be telling the population in an unprecedented situation and a health crisis of the highest proportion, which also has economic damage, not just human costs of lives, to do one thing and then be breaching them so allegedly so much. So this is very significant, and of course people will be watching very carefully. But the effect of opening investigation means that the internal inquiry by a top civil servant, Sue Gray, that we thought was going to be published last week and then we thought was going to be published sometime this week, is now delayed. And what we've learnt from Downing Street in the last few seconds is that some parts of that will actually be published, the parts about the events that are not allegedly being investigated by the Met Police.
And Bénédicte, the Prime Minister was already bracing for a rather difficult week. Now, surely his week's looking even tougher with more calls coming in for his resignation.
Indeed, only moments ago, the opposition party, the Labour's deputy leader, Angela Rayner, renewing calls for Boris Johnson to resign in light of this inquiry and calling him a national distraction. She asked the government for an urgent question in the Commons, but the fact is that these calls keep on coming, but the Prime Minister in a few minutes will stand up in the House of Commons after he and his team and these allegations have been discussed for over 45 minutes, and then actually talk to the nation and to the House of Commons about Ukraine. So a Prime Minister trying to very much carry on, but who is assailed increasingly. And it just will take 54 letters to go to a parliamentary Conservative Party for it to be triggered, for a vote of confidence, or no confidence rather, in him to be triggered. We're not there yet, and it could happen at a moment's notice. We simply don't know.
Bénédicte Paviot in London for now. Thanks very much indeed.